Today's episode is about something that's become a constant frustration for artists online. What happens when you're good at more than one thing? For years, we've been told to experiment, to explore and develop our craft. Learn new techniques and try different mediums, push yourself creatively. But the moment you bring that variety to social media, it can feel like the algorithm has other plans for you. So today we're asking the question, are artists with multiple styles and techniques being punished for their versatility? To help unpack all of that, I am joined by a very special guest today, my good friend and fellow artist Jessie Polfliet, better known online as Digital DreamCloud. Jessie is an incredible illustrator whose work spans multiple styles and approaches, making her the perfect person to have this conversation with. Before we dive in, do yourself a favor and go check out Digital DreamCloud on all your favorite social platforms. Give her a follow, show her some love, spend some time with her amazing work. And when you're done, come right back because we've got a lot to talk about. With all that out of the way, welcome back to another Butcher Show. Alright, so first, before we begin and before we take the absolute deep dive into what we have prepared for today, how are you doing, Jessie?
At the moment, I'm doing great. Had a couple of, let's just say, quiet weeks, and that's never really good for a freelancer. But yeah, I noticed that people are coming back from vacation, and everybody's wanting to do stuff. And we had heat wave, of course, in the Netherlands. So
oh yes,
the Dutch people are happy again. So they're taking commissions. That's great.
Yes, it's wonderful how commissions seem to be linked or related to the weather conditions, because you're absolutely right. I've noticed it as well, like the last 3 weeks or so, it's been crickets. And now all of a sudden things are like washing over you. Like everybody wants something and they want it yesterday.
I know, right? But that's awesome.
Exactly. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. How do people know you? What should we know about you? And your work, obviously.
My name is Jessie Polfliet, and I always introduce myself as a traditional but also a digital illustrator, which means I can do digital illustrations, which I do in Clip Studio Paint, but I also do traditional illustrations with pencils, with watercolors. I even do commissions in pen and in markers and stuff like that. Wow. My favorite subjects are animals and nature, and I often throw in a dash of humor and also a dash of whimsy and a fantasy. And a lot of bright colors.
Yeah, the bright colors. And I think the colors are actually what really sold me to your work, because, I mean, obviously we know each other from the little shop we sell our work at, the Zilveren Vos. And every time I step in there, it's like I look for your work. And it pretty much shows itself because it's so bright and so, I don't know, man, the colors just work really well. And I'll tell you a little secret. I am completely in awe by your color pencil skills.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm always of your painting skills, because that's something I'm not. You're posting the dragon at the moment with the crystals and the magnolia flowers. I'm like, how the fuck does she do that?
And this is exactly your answer, like, or what I say when I look at your color pencils, like, how the fuck did she does that? Does she do that? We'll come back to the color pencils later, because I did one piece like a few months ago. I decided I would just buy myself a little box, or quote unquote little, because it's actually a pretty big box. But I wanted to dive into color pencils. I drew a dead knight in the grass because why not? And by the end, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how this works. And then I look at your work and you make it look so damn easy.
Well, you do that with the paint, but yeah. But I used a lot, yeah. So then you obviously at some point you get good at it.
And speaking of things, or being good at certain things, before we decided to start recording, I asked you, hey, what is something you would really like to talk about? And you said, and I think this came out without a single moment of thought, you said, I want to talk about the curse of being capable of working with different styles and different techniques in a world where the algorithm basically punishes you for being good at so many things.
Yeah. It is also because I know you do the same thing as me, because you do the painting. You can also do digital art, as you do the lino cut. We are also amazing. I'm
Thank you.
jealous. And of course, all the workshops that you give. So you're also good at that. It is, and I am the same. I mentioned all the things I do with drawing, but I'm also a graphic designer. That's the thing I studied. I also do hand lettering, and I also do photography, which I all use for my company. And there are actually a lot more things that I use in the background, and which, as the more professional that I am growing, the more that I notice there's a bit of pushback, from social media, especially algorithms, but also from like the really really professionals, in the big business. You can think about licensing agents and stuff like that. They're really pushing back on the idea of, oh, you do a lot of things, so it's better maybe to show one thing.
Yeah, it's crazy how we are so blinded by finding our niche, because it's everywhere. Everybody promotes find your niche, find your niche. And when you go on whatever Instagram or whatever social platform, you see these videos of these people that tell you like, how can you go from 0 followers to 10,000 followers? And basically what they say is find your niche. So basically pick one thing and become very good at it. But people like you and I don't want to do that. Like, I mean, I guess we could, but why would we? I mean, the only reason we would do that is because we would serve the algorithm. And I personally, and I'm pretty sure you would too, just refuse that, because that's not the artistic freedom that you can actually enjoy as an artist.
Yeah, it's certainly that. When I started my company, like, I didn't realize it, but one of the things that I grew to really like is, I can pick up any project that I want. If I want to do a card series with only watercolors, I can do it and sell that, or if I want to do pen drawings or digital drawings, and I also love that. But, I talk a lot with my mom about what I do, but, I often say to her, if I had to do one thing, I would be forced to do one thing, I would grow very bored of it, I think.
Oh, well, I 100% understand. I mean, if I look at what I do myself, like every, I don't know, let's say 48 hours, there's this clock that resets. It's like, all right, what are you going to do today? And I feel like, I don't know if you know Pinky and the Brain, when you have Pinky just go, what are we going to do tonight, Brain? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly the conversation that I have inside my head every day. It's like the Pinky that goes, Narf, and, what are we doing? And then the brain that goes, no, not what we did yesterday. Obviously, we're going to do something else today. So I 100% feel you on that one. But how, because when I asked you this, like, what do we want to talk about? I mean, you typed it to me, but somehow I read a form of frustration into that. Like, I don't know. I got the feeling that you were annoyed that, algorithms just say, well, go ahead and fuck yourself if you post more than like 2 different things. Do you feel like, your socials or your reach, like your outreach to people is limited because you do so many things and the algorithm says nope?
Yeah, for sure. It is, when I see the popular accounts, it's definitely the ones that do stick to one thing. And look, I'm not gonna bash people that do that,
No,
like,
of
if
course.
you're happy with that, like, I'm happy for you. It's just, like I said, I would grow very bored of it. And I
Yeah.
also, one other very big advantage that I learned is that when I switch over to another artistic medium, is my brain sort of restarts, because you have to rethink how you approach the subject. But we all heard of the famous art block,
Yeah. Yes.
and people are all like, always like, how do you come up with so many different ideas? Well, how come you're always working on 3 different things every single week? And I'm like, I'm never out of ideas, and I never have art block. because I do so many different things, so it's always, the juices are always flowing.
And is it that you really are like ahead of that curve? Like you swing. I can't even speak anymore. Do you switch mediums when you feel like you're going into like an artistic down curve, or does it sort of happen simultaneously?
Yeah, I think it happens simultaneously, at least for me. I mean, sometimes there's really, really big projects, that span months, and I have to use one thing. I think a while ago I had to make a lot of vector illustrations for a client, and they were fun to do, but at a certain point I had to do like a lot, in a couple of weeks, and I was like, okay, I have to do, even if it's just an evening, I have to do pencil drawing or something else.
Yeah, I hear myself talking here because I worked on the cat project. I mean, I still am working on the cat project because exactly like 23 cats, and I still need to do like 6 or 7. But man, I had to take a break at a certain point because just doing the same thing again and again, it's not good for my brain.
They are awesome though. I always love seeing from, okay, which one's gonna do next.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, they are fun to do. And I've said this many times before in previous episodes. Like, it's not that I don't like the job. Like, on the contrary, I love the job. I love the project. I love doing these weird, crazy cats in these weird, crazy contexts. But when I've done 8 in a row, I really, really get the itch and I need to do something else. And it's just like you said, like you need to um, sort of reroute the brain every once in a while, like cleanse the palate, clear off all the colors and just try something else.
Yeah, and I think that's good advice, for people overall. You need to cleanse your palate sometimes. If you do, I see a lot of people that they only play the same genre of games, and then they're like, yeah, this game is not good, and I'm like, no, you played five open worlds back to back. Of course you're gonna get bored of them, at a certain point. Like, I mean, I always, like I do actually that same approach to other things, but because when I game and I do an open world, and after that I do a simple indie game, and then I do something else.
If you're enjoying this podcast and want to support what we do, head on over to patreon.com/sandybutchers. Members get early access to new content, and higher tier supporters can join the Mail Club, where I send out exclusive art loot up to 4 times per year. It's a great way to get some unique physical goodies while helping keep the podcast going. Check it out at patreon.com/sandybutchers. And thanks for your support. Let's get back to the show.
But I think it's sort of a good approach, because it keeps things exciting.
For a second, I thought what you said was very contradictory because you said, people who play 5 different open worlds back to back, that's like a large palette of things. But then you continued saying, go from an open world RPG to like this, whatever, like single player game. And I suddenly realized that this is the perfect metaphor for changing mediums within your art. You can draw 15 cats. Cool. You can all do that with gouache paint, and then you do the same thing over and over again. But if you do 3 cats with gouache, 3 cats with colored pencils, 3 cats digital, you're still doing the same thing, but you're doing it in such a completely different way that you don't experience it as doing the same thing.
Exactly. And I think that's the point of it. But you're also full-time, just like me.
No. I am not.
Oh, you're not. Oh, so sorry. I thought you were.
No, don't worry. I wish I was. No, I pretend for king and country that I am, and I keep telling myself that one day I will be. But everything. I mean, okay. So let's clarify. I pretty much, yes, do this as a full-time job. I can easily make 40 hours a week with this, but I do this in my free time when I'm actually done with my day job at the end of the day. So I don't sleep.
Okay, so that's relatable.
Yeah. But sorry, yeah, you were saying, go on.
But what I wanted to say is you do all those different things, but you also make them work, for your company. And I think that's because we were talking about the disadvantages of doing all those things, but also a lot of, pros. And I think that's also important to mention.
Well, and I think that's the whole, like, the core of this entire conversation is, we have pros, we have cons, but at the end of the day, I think the choice you have to make is, do you want to go with the algorithm because you feel like that's where your job might be most successful? Or do you want to pursue that creative freedom that you have and work your way around that, to become successful in any other way, but social media?
Yeah, I think that answer is different for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah.
To be told, I don't know how it is for you, but social media, you have to have social media as an artist. But for me, it never brought in the people that buy my products or the commissioners. It never did. What helps for me is, attending markets and selling
Yes.
in stores and, doing these kinds of things and being in artist groups and stuff like that,
100%. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to say 80% of my income is based on market sales. So conventions, fantasy events, all that kind of stuff. I think, and maybe I need to like readjust the number. I would say 65% is actual income from sales that I make. Then another 15% is commissions that come forth from events like that. And then maybe 20% per year is what I actually sell on my social media. And it's funny that, today is the day we record this because I posted the final result of the little Foxglove Dragon today. And it is on its way to going sort of viral, I guess. It's like, I have never posted anything that has gotten over 300 likes. I've seen my follower count. Yeah, my follower count is like going up all day long. I'm like, ding, my phone's ringing, ding. I put it on silent because it just keeps going off. And I've never had that before. And actually, I'll tell you, it scares me to death because now people are actually looking at my work. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do?
Just keep doing what you do because you have great work.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but it's always, I don't know, man. Imposter syndrome is a real bitch.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. Last week we talked about people, accusing work of AI. And today there was also this one asshole who said, "Oh, I love this picture of the Foxglove Dragon. Like, which model did you use? Which AI model?" And I just blocked that person. Like, I don't want that negativity here, please. This is I'm not going to say this is a safe space, but I'm so tired of constantly competing against that kind of stuff. It's so unfair. And I think going back to like the actual theme of the episode, it's like, do you find your niche or do you just enjoy your creative freedom? I think part of that decision is definitely being influenced by the amount of shit that is just polluting what we see online as well.
Oh, yeah, that's for me also a big reason that I do what I do. Yes, especially indeed the many mediums that I tend to use. I'm just.
Has anyone ever asked you or told you like this is AI or it looks like it's generated or anything? Have you ever encountered that?
Yeah, a lot of times at the markets, also especially because I do so many things. But then, with people now, the worst thing I find is sometimes I'm just drawing behind my booth. You can see my sketchbook open. You can see me, using the pencil, and people still point and say it's AI. And I'm like, if you point your eyes a little bit down, you can see me working there. But they refuse to do that because they choose to be stupid.
They just don't care. Yeah. You know what? Part of me is actually really happy and kind of relieved to hear you say this. This happens to you as well. But at the same time, another part of me just wants to weep because this happens to so many more people. And it's so ridiculous. Exactly. Like you can paint in front of them and they will still just make their own conclusion, like draw their own conclusions. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And that's why I think mine and I think also your art does better at the market because the people that do stop may stop by and ask, hey, how have you made it? Then you can tell them and you can show the sketchbooks, and because you can tell in so much detail how you made it, they're like, oh, I believe this person.
I, yeah, yes and no. Um, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, or even last December during the Midwinter Fair in Archeon. You probably know. Have you been there?
I've never been there. I want to go someday. But
It's awesome. You should. But so many people would just come in and declare the work AI, and even if you would talk to them, they would say things like, "Yeah, well, I could put a no AI sticker on anything." So that the fact that you declare it's handmade doesn't make it the truth. And I was like, I am so not going to argue with this. But I went home crying after that event. Actually, I've repeated this story many times. Yeah, it sucks, but you know what? I guess because of this, I came back a lot stronger because it really got me thinking. Why are people calling this AI? And I think, or part of the conclusion was because it's digital. People obviously don't see the difference anymore between digital art and AI art. They don't understand the difference between graphic design or working with assets or all that kind of stuff. So the differences are sort of blurring into one. And so that's pretty much when I decided to do more traditional stuff. That's when the block prints came out. That's when I bought a really big box of gouache paint, got the coloring pencils out, all that kind of stuff. And now this whole year I've been putting the handmade stuff, or the traditional work. That was a weird way to say this. The traditional work, I've been putting that up front and at the front of my booth, and I've had zero people ask me if my work was AI. So to me, it started as let's go back to traditional work because so many people are calling my work AI. And at the same time, I so love working with traditional mediums. I don't know, it's like it came from an accident, but it was the happiest choice I've ever made.
oh, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, sometimes frustration can also lead to, diversifying yourself.
Yeah. And I really think that's true. And part of me, I think, for a very long while, focused on the digital art niche. And I mean, it worked. I mean, I wasn't unsuccessful or, I wasn't miserable, but I think my work has only gotten better, the moment I started picking up different types of mediums again. So I don't know. It's just, it's so interesting to me that, it influences so many things and so many different levels, not even just on the social platforms, like what happens, but also to you as a person, to you as an artist, what does it do with your audiences? I don't know, it's amazing, I guess.
It is amazing. It is yeah, it's sometimes funny how when such a negative thing can lead to such a positive thing. But yeah, I actually had sort of the same journey as that you mentioned, like 2 years ago. I was still doing traditional illustrations, but the digital ones I felt a bit shit about, also because of AI. I was beginning a drawing and I was like, yeah, people are gonna accuse it of AI, and AI can do it in 2 seconds. So what am I doing? So there was also a big drop of that. And then I started to do a lot of pencil illustrations again, a lot of watercoloring, and people really liked it. So I kept doing that, and like the last 2 years, after that, I started digital illustration again, and now, yeah, just like you, people almost never ask if it's AI, because they're a little bit wiser. I also see a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit.
We educated them. Okay, so I've two big questions whirling around in my head. The first one is, do you feel like you have lost customers due to AI? Do you feel like you've really, like, that it hit up, created a hole in your work?
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult question, but it's timing wise, because I just lost a customer 2 weeks ago, I believe. Yeah, so it's a bit of a timing thing, but that's, I think, the first time that I lost a customer, because I also big timing thing. I started when generative AI, peeked its head around the corner. So I never had an like a comparison point. Let's just say that, because I started at the worst time possible.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
But have I lost customers? Yeah, I think, okay, so I'm gonna say yes, but I'm also gonna say that's a good thing because, you have the red flag clients, the ones that want all the feedback rounds, the hundreds of feedback rounds is never good enough. They want it for the lowest price.
And pay $20, yeah.
I had a couple, before I had my company, I did sometimes commission work and I sometimes worked for people like that and they were awful, It almost made me want to, stop. But I don't have those clients anymore because those people now use AI. So I'm like, yeah. So it is less work, but on the other hand, I'm like, well, it wasn't fun working for those people, and now they use that. And okay, I'm not happy that they use that, but because AI is of course really bad for the climate, but that's a whole other conversation. But I'm like, at least they're not bothering me.
Yeah, they saw themselves out. Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. It's like for you, it's good riddance. For the world, it's like it's their problem, I guess. But no, I totally understand how you're in this. So you started your company like 3 years ago. Then, like I don't know, when did AI become a thing? 3 years ago, I think.
2021.
5 years ago. All right. So how did you tell me a little bit about that? Like, how did you start? What did you do to actually get to the point where you are now? Because obviously we do a lot of things. Algorithm says go fuck yourself. How did you become the artist and as known as you are now? Is it just the events, or did you have a plan? Did you just wing it? Like, how did that work?
So the first 2 years, I didn't have a plan. I just, I think I had two clients that came, had graphic design work for me, and so I got, a couple of €100, but not enough to live off. Yeah, actually, it was a lot of happening that led to me being a full-time artist. But yeah, I had my company, but I was working as a graphic designer for another company. Due to a lot of things happening at once, I got a burnout. So I had to quit my job, and I was still living with my parents. And I said to them, I'm sitting at home, like, shall I try to go full time at my company, like, and of course they didn't want that because would their right minds goes, full time with an illustration company in a time that generative AI is the thing, so they weren't very happy with that, but I was like, let me try it for a year. And if I don't see any growth, then I always can look for a job, and then it would just be 1 year thrown away. But then because I could focus 100% of my time on it, I started to see growth. I approached a lot of companies, I approached a lot of stores, and okay, 99, you could, for the hundreds of companies that you approach, you get 99 no's, but if you get one yes, you win. Yeah.
It's interesting though, because you just actively went out acquiring with companies. So what did you do? How does that work? You went to like H&M and you said, hey, do you want like design work? Like, tell me about that.
So what I did is I found a course online about how to make money as an illustrator. It was a very expensive course, like €2,000 or something. It was very expensive, but I had a lot of money set aside, so I was like, let's try. And that course gave me a lot of pointers and a lot of income sources that I could try, like the markets, like the stores, like the licensing, a lot of it. So I just, as every new company does, I tried everything. I threw everything at the wall,
yeah.
and I just looked. Yeah, and I just looked at what
stuck.
got stuck to it, And I realized you have a thing called cold mailing. That's what it's called.
Cold query.
If you just approach yeah, if you approach a company or a store or whatever with and they have no interest in you and you approach them, so it's it's cold, and you say, hey, I'm Jessie, I make these cool illustrations, is it something for you, and like I said, you get a lot of no's, but there's also, if there's a yes in between there, you have something, and then that stacks over a period of time, and finally, and suddenly you're 5 years later, and you have commissioners, and you're selling in 4 stores, and you do markets regularly, and yeah.
It's amazing because I would think that cold querying process is just exhausting and it takes up so much time, but I can also imagine that as time goes on and you build up that bit of portfolio, I can imagine it's just a
Well,
snowball.
the thing is, it becomes less over time because you acquire, um, what's the word? Let's call it permanent commissioners out of it. People that come back and ask for more. Like the last couple of months, I had clients that came back to me, from years prior, and that had commissions for me. So I didn't need to do the cold mailing. So that's so that is what you're working to, But yeah, the cold mailing itself, if you're starting out, it is exhausting. I'm not gonna lie, and you have to really push through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I can totally imagine that. So, but now you are completely full time. You are completely depending on your art income. That's amazing. I'm so jealous. No, I admire that. I admire that
But
a
you
lot.
get there too, girl. I mean, you're talented, and you also do a lot of things, so that's also always comes in handy,
That's
I
true. That's
believe.
true. And I think I've been artificially keeping myself at not like the lower level. Like, I here in the Netherlands we have something called the kleine ondernemingsregeling, which is basically yeah, the core. It's for our American listeners and viewers. The core is a law that allows people who earn up to a very specified amount of money to have all kinds of tax benefits and all that kind of stuff. So I've for the last couple of years I've said, okay, I'm going to keep it up to that level. So I've been able to function under that law, and that's amazing. So basically, everything I've earned so far has either been money to reinvest in the company to grow and to get bigger and to have more machines and new materials to work with. Get new paints, get new brushes to sort of maintain that business. But now next year, I'm actually going to work less for my boss. I'm going to work 3 days instead of 4 days. And so now this is the first time in my life where, the like day job and art balance is just flipping around, because now it's 4 days, or it's going to be 4 days of art versus 3 days of day job. And I'm a bit anxious about that. I'm also very excited about that because this is the first time where it's actually going to be part of my income. So I'm like, I'm just listening to you like, okay, what do I do? I'm taking notes because I need to get to a point as well where, I allow for that growth to actually happen, rather than saying, hey, this is the max that I can earn this year. You guys are gonna have to wait until January. So it's fascinating how these things work. Just it's really cool to hear you talk about your journey in this, because you also started from scratch. Like literally, you came out from a burnout and said, hey, I'm going to start my own company. That is no joke. That's not nothing.
No, but also I come from a family we can sit down and do nothing, So I'm like, let's try that. But
But so now you don't live with your parents anymore, right?
no, I have my own house now, my own
Awesome.
studio, so that's pretty nice. It's in a little village though in Zealand, because I live in Zealand. For the American viewers, it's a little province by the sea, but it's not near the big cities, It's nowhere near Amsterdam, so it's
It's the southwest of the country. Yeah, yeah. But to the American people, the Netherlands basically is just Amsterdam.
it's true.
Some of them know The Hague or Rotterdam, but basically just the entire contour of our country is Amsterdam. It's a giant city for them. But yeah, so Zeeland is Yeah, that's pretty rural. That's the middle of nowhere. It's yeah. They have big storms there though in autumn. I can imagine that being very inspiring as well.
Yeah, well, but I don't sell a lot here. Unfortunately, I always have to get to the big cities, like Den Bosch, where we sell our art. And what was it, 2 weeks ago? I had in 1 week I had to get to Delft, I had to get to Hilversum, I had to get to Breda, was also a store that I saw, and I also had to get to Leiden.
Oh, that's true.
And I was
Yeah.
you're just broken, at the end of that week, because it's all like hour, 2 hour, 3 hour drives, so it's like exhausting.
Yeah. It's crazy to think like the Netherlands is a country basically you can go from any like far point to the other far point somewhere within 2 hours and you basically can just cross the country. And I can understand like people who live like even Germans who live in a country that's like I don't know how many more times as big as, as we are. Like 2 hours is nothing, but man, when you do that every day, you're exhausted. It's a tiny drive, but man, it wears you down.
Yeah, we judge people we're pussies on that on that
Yeah,
level.
no, and you know what? I think we're dumb fucks when it comes to driving the roads. This country is too small for this amount of cars and this many people who don't know how to drive. So, and I think that's what makes it exhausting because when I lived in Finland, I had drives. I would drive for like 6, 7 hours straight. I would not take a break. There was nothing there. I could just drive. And here, you cannot drive for 3 seconds straight before some asshole before you just hits the brakes, takes a turn, doesn't use the blinker, you don't know what the fuck is going on. We have 100,000 roundabouts, so
No, that's
it's
very much true, yeah.
yeah, this country is weird, I guess.
But to get back to our main theme,
Yes, sorry, I digressed.
no, it's okay, it's all right. It happens in conversation,
This is true. This is true.
But to give some more tips also to going full time, but also, in an artistic business.
Yes, I love that. Yep, hit us with it because I'm ready. Let's go.
Sometimes you don't realize how much of an advantage it is that you can do all those different things. I had a client that I did. So I got a client last year, and he made farm equipment, but that was really sustainable. So it was solar powered and stuff like that. And he approached me because he saw that I could draw very well. I think I sent him, I don't know, the IT octopus that I did of all things. But he was like, can you do a product illustration for me? Because he said AI can do that because it gets all the details wrong, and I had to get it to investors, to show it. So I drew the machine that he wanted, and I did the farm landscape in the background because, I also draw a lot of comics. That's also one thing I do. I draw comics. So I used that in the backgrounds, and he was very happy with it, and he got the project, And a little while later, he approached me again for graphic design work. So I also did that for him because that's also one thing that I did. But it was he was a little bit late with answering, but it's no big deal for me because it happens. And then he got back to me and he said, "Hey, we're sorry, I answered so late. We're expecting a baby." And I was like, "Oh, congratulations!" And then I was like, "You know that I also draw baby cards, right?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, well, I will connect you to my wife." And his wife was like, "Well, yeah, but I actually want a watercolor drawing." And I was like, "No, that's okay. I can do that too." And she was like, "Oh, that's great, And she was like, "But I want to do foil on it." So now, well, I'm a graphic designer, so I know how to do foil foil effects, So she was happy with that. And I made the drawing and I sent it to her, and she was very happy. But then she was like, "I also actually want to have a watercolor drawing on the inside of the card." And I was like, "Well, I sent the original away, so I can't use that anymore. But hey, I can do digital drawing." So I grabbed some watercolor digital brushes, and made with the exact same technique and design on the inside, you know.
I think in a way it is all about finding your clientele and maintaining them. It's not like you're not really engaging in a friendship, but in like it's a professional relationship, I guess. It's knowing what you can do and what these people need and offer it at exactly the right time. And I think it's such a variable thing because it requires you to be alert to things. It requires you to really actively become familiar with who your clients are. And I think some people kind of forget that part. Like they have people on the phone, they work project to project, and they don't, or they forget to sort of invest in that relationship. And I think that is so incredibly important. And hearing your story here, this is exactly what you did so well. It's like you maintained the relationship you have, and at the same time you were able to offer them so much, because you obviously can do so many things, and it's amazing.
But I think people a lot of the time forget that they, you have this one client that maybe approach you for one thing, but you can always mention that you do other things. You never know to what it leads, I have had many commissions, because I mentioned one thing to one client and they told it to another person, and that person approached me for the thing that I mentioned, So don't underestimate the different skills that you have, but also, mentioning that you have those skills and showing it to people. It sounds like a no-brainer, but you never know to what it leads.
You'd be surprised how many people forget about that. Yeah. Hey, it's about time to sort of wrap things up. What we always do at the end of an episode is ask a question to our audience. What do you think would be an appropriate question to ask the audience this time?
Oh, what would be an appropriate question?
It could be about, what is their favorite medium, or like, do they, I'm spitballing right here.
I think that would be a good question, what would be their favorite medium?
Yeah, or if they have, if these are people that, also work with many different mediums, give us your top 3 of your favorite, like what's your absolute favorite, and then what's your second best, what's your third best. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think that also would be great, and I also love to read those lists, and they're like, wow, you do, and they're so different, I also love that they're so different from each other.
Normally I do these episodes with Gibby, and he would definitely say something like, well, you love reading the comments, there's going to be maybe 2 or 3 comments from our diehard listeners who I thank every damn episode for listening to us. But drop us some love in the comments. Tell us what is your top 3 favorite mediums. Jessie, tell us where we can find you, because I dropped a shout out to you at the very opening of the episode. How do we find you on Insta, on Facebook? Like, where do you want us to find you?
Well, my company name is Digital DreamCloud. And you can recognize me. I have a hedgehog with some flowers on its back. That's my avatar, so you can recognize me on that. And I also on Threads. And I try to post 3 times a week, with new drawings, but also what markets I attend and stuff like that. So if you want to follow.
You have a website?
I have a website, also digitaldreamcloud.net. And I have a Dutch and an English version, because that's what I did in the slow weeks. Hey. Yes.
Translated the website. That's awesome. All right, everybody, go ahead and find her on the socials, Digital DreamClouds. While you're at it, follow her work. Sign up for newsletters. I don't know if you have one, but sign up anyway. And while you're at it, I would really appreciate a like and or follow to the channel, or on Spotify or on YouTube, wherever you are listening to us babbling. Jessie, I want to thank you so much for joining me for the conversation today. I think this was absolutely awesome.
Thank you very much. I actually enjoyed doing this. It's my first time on the podcast.
Who knows? We might have a new regular. Hint, hint.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? I'll know where to find you when the time comes. But thanks anyway, and thanks everyone for listening and for joining us. I hope to see you all in the next one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.